Are you living for approval or serving God? We're going to study Galatians 1:10 together today. I have my notes, so we're going to go through it, y'all. I literally write down everything, so y'all going to always see me reading a lot of times, unless I didn't write it down. Because I have like so much that I be going through, so much that be on my mind. So I feel like I have to put it down, because then I sit there and forget about it or get caught up and not remember it and all of that stuff. So this is why I read my notes. And like I said, we learning this together. So I got my notes so that I can always refer back and go over stuff in order to grow. In a world constantly pressuring us to perform, conform, and gain approval, it's easy to lose sight of who we really are. Whether it's through social media, workplace expectations, relationships, or even ministry, many of us unknowingly fall into the trap of living for validation, chasing the applause of people while silencing our God-given identity. Galatians 1:10 confronts this head on with a profound question. Like, it is a strong question. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. That is really, that's really good right there. This verse isn't just a reflection, it's a challenge. Paul reminds us that we can't live for both the crowd and Christ. People pleasing and purpose cannot coexist. You can't do both. When we base our worth on others' opinions, we drift from the freedom, truth, and boldness God has called us to walk in. So let's break this down and unpack what it really means to break free from the need for approval and step fully into our identity, purpose, and calling as servants of Christ. We finna go deeper now. That verse is like, it's a really piercing challenge to anyone who finds themselves trapped in the cycle of seeking validation from others rather than standing firm in their identity and worth in God. Paul in this passage addresses the heart of people pleasing, a tendency that leads many to compromise their convictions, mute their authenticity, and stray from God's purpose in an attempt to gain acceptance and approval from the world. So many people get caught up in this. It's so easy to get caught up in that. Here are a few things that we can break down and analyze when it comes to this. The first one is the danger of seeking human approval. It's so dangerous. Like, it's more dangerous than people know. It's more dangerous than people think. When we live to please others, we often adjust our words, actions, and even beliefs to fit into the mold of what others expect. That's a dangerous place to be in, because you're not really who you really are. Like, you are molded, programmed, and made into somebody else. It's not who you really are. If you didn't have all this where you were searching for the human approval, you could wipe away so much of the you that you made and be able to strip down into who you really are. It distorts authenticity, I guess you can say. People pleasing forces us to wear masks, suppressing who we truly are for fear of rejection. Over time, this leads to a loss of self. You don't know who you are anymore. Forgetting who God has called us to be. You don't even know what God has called you to be, because you're so lost in not knowing who you are. because you was searching for approval from others, and you became so in touch more so with this world and humans that you forgot about God. It leads to compromise. To gain the approval of others, we begin to compromise our values and convictions, bending truth to align with what's socially acceptable or admired. It creates a false sense of security. Approval from people is fleeting and conditional. What pleases them today may not please them tomorrow, leaving us in a constant state of anxiety, performing for a temporary and unstable audience. You don't never know what you're gonna get out of a person. I don't know who you are today, and then what I do today, you might tomorrow be like, that ain't cool. So I'm constantly trying to run behind changes it's not gonna stay, it's not gonna stick. So I'm constantly trying to change to fit, when you can be a certain way one day and a totally different person the next day. There's a difference between pleasing people versus serving God. Paul makes a clear distinction. To live for the applause of people is to forfeit true servanthood to Christ. A divided heart cannot serve two masters. That's Matthew 6:24. If we seek human approval, we will inevitably lose focus on God's will. Our hearts become torn between pleasing people and honoring God. Serving Christ requires boldness and conviction. To be a servant of Christ is to walk a path where God's approval outweighs human applause. It means standing firm in truth, even when it is unpopular or misunderstood. The question is, why do you seek validation from others? One reason might be fear of rejection. Many people seek validation to avoid the pain of rejection, believing that being accepted by others will protect them from loneliness or abandonment, insecurity, and lack of identity. When people do not fully understand their worth in Christ, they search for external affirmation to fill an internal void. Cultural pressure and conformity. Society often rewards conformity, making it easier to fit in than to stand out. Ain't that something? The need to belong can make people pleasing feel necessary for survival. There is always a cost when it comes to people pleasing. You gotta know that. People pleasing comes with a cost. Loss of purpose. Living for others' approval slowly erodes our God-given purpose, leaving us disconnected from the life God has designed for us. Emotional exhaustion. You get tired of it. Constantly performing to meet others' expectations is draining, leaving little energy for genuine growth and intimacy with God. That's why so many people are tired today. You seeking stuff that you shouldn't be seeking. Spiritual stagnation. Seeking validation from people leads to stagnation in faith, preventing spiritual maturity and growth. This is some powerful stuff. It's important to know your true identity and worth in Christ. Paul's words remind us that our identity and worth are found in being a servant of Christ, not in the opinions of others. We have to remember that so that we can stop focusing so much on what other people believe and what other people think and their opinions on stuff. We are chosen and loved by God. This is in Ephesians 1:4. Our value was determined long before we ever sought human approval. We are called to live boldly in truth. 2 Timothy 1:7. God equips us with power, love, and a sound mind to walk confidently in His purpose, not anybody else's. We are free from the bondage of performance. Galatians 5:1. Christ has set us free from the endless cycle of striving for validation. Be sure that you are living for God's approval. Again, nobody else's approval is needed, only God's. To live for God's approval means walking in obedience even when it's difficult. That's John 14:15. Pleasing God often requires standing alone, but obedience brings eternal reward. Standing firm in truth regardless of opposition. 1 Corinthians 15:58. When our foundation is in Christ, we will not be swayed by the shifting opinions of others. You're going to constantly be moving like this, back and forth, if you're trying to fit in with the opinions of others. Seeking God's will above all else. Matthew 6:33. When we prioritize God's kingdom, everything else falls into place. Don't worry about anything else that anybody else got going on. It's time to break free from the need for validation. Renew your mind with truth. Romans 12:2. Replace the lies of needing approval with the truth of who God says you are. Not who anybody else says you are. Not even who you say you are. Practice courageous authenticity. Stop hiding and start living authentically, even if it means disappointing others. Seek affirmation from God, not man. Spend time in prayer, seeking God's guidance and approval instead of looking for applause from people. So I ask the question again, who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please people? If you are trying to please people, that's not where you should be coming from. Paul's words are an invitation to ask ourselves daily, whose approval am I seeking today? When you wake up, ask yourself that every day if you have to. Every day, whose approval am I seeking today? You have to make sure you put that in your head so you're not going out and seeking approval from just regular people. Like, are you kidding? That's not how it goes. If the answer leans toward people, it's time to realign our hearts with God. Being a servant of Christ requires that we break free from the chains of people pleasing and step into the bold, authentic, God-honoring life we were created for. Galatians 1:10 is a bold challenge to stop seeking validation from people and start living to please God and only God. People pleasing strips away authenticity, leads to compromise, and leaves us emotionally drained. While God's approval offers true freedom and purpose. Paul makes it clear, if we are focused on pleasing others, we cannot fully serve God. Our identity and worth are rooted in God, not in human opinions. To break free, we must renew our minds with truth, live authentically, and seek God's will above all else. The question remains, are you living for the applause of people or the approval of God? It's always a pleasure. From yours truly, Ezralyn. I'll see y'all in the next video.